May feel the ogden down the front straight. Rivkin's still right behind him, pacing him.
How you doing? My name is George, and welcome to the Northeast RC Racer Podcast. I'm here with my normal group of cohorts. I got my right-hand man, Toby Hampson.
Hello.
Tom Petrella.
Hello, mate.
And Vin Manchanda.
Hey, hey.
I'm still trying to work through this intro smooth one way or another, but we'll get it down. It's funny, I was saying to my wife earlier, we are at 18 episodes, and the beginning never gets any easier. So at the end of the day, it's just got to spit it out and get through it. But we're here. We're excited to be here. And what do you guys got going on?
Same old stuff. No, don't speak at once.
Same old stuff. Wonderful.
Wow.
All right. We are basically back again for episode 18. We have a special guest that I'll get to in a second. In the meantime, we want to say thank you very much to our guest from episode 17. We had a great guest on. His name was Cam Cohen. He was a YouTuber. I like to say RC influencer, as well as an RC racer. So thanks a lot, Cam, for coming on. Your work for the RC hobby has been great. Provides extra exposure for the hobby, trying to bring new people in, trying to expose people to the thrill of RC, whether it's 10 scale or A scale. Through your videos is another medium that occurs. So thank you very much. And we really appreciate you being here. I also want to say thank you very much to all the viewers that have been watching, everybody who subscribed, everybody who shared it. So we really appreciate that. All the views definitely help what they call the algorithm. So whether it's on Facebook where we're presenting or YouTube, we really appreciate it. Definitely share it with your friends again, or, bring some new people to it if you can. We have our special guest on this episode that's going to come in shortly. We have Garland Smith Jr. from Roar, as well as the owner of G's Racing and Raceway in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. So we're excited to get to him in a little while after we do some of our normal race recap and some other items. We are going to just run through a promo from one of our sponsors, and then we're going to get the show on the road.
Absolutely. That's somebody's got their speakers on back there. Who's that? Get a lot of feedback. Tom, is that you? Oh, technical difficulty. Anyway, I want to talk about EB Mods. EB Mods come forward to sponsor this broadcast. If you haven't heard of EB Mods, Ed's been in the business for many years now. And he's a guy to go to if you want your engines, parts, specifically more focused on OS. You can get your engines, your pistons resliced, engine braking, that kind of thing. You should hit him up, bbmods.com. If you've been following recently on Facebook, or if you're not, then you should. He has recently just started modifying the Max P21 engines, which I think are going to be a great engine for people to get started in nitro. Pretty economically priced. They're going to rip. He also sells 83s, very popular nitro engines. So definitely hit up Ed. He's usually at a lot of local races, trains and lanes, LCRC, tons of experience. He'll help tune your engine, that kind of thing. So again, EB Mods, check him out.
I was just on looking at his stuff right before the podcast. I looked on Facebook quick. I'm like, man, he's got ads on there and everything. This is a nice motor for that price.
Yeah, right.
And he gives it a pretty damn good deal on it.
Yeah, what's cool is
$100 will do a dyno tune and break in for you and rock and roll.
Yeah, he posts a lot of stuff on Facebook about the work that he does and some of the cool CNC machines he uses. It's pretty cool. So to get that inside view of all the machining and stuff he does.
That's pretty cool.
Anybody get hit on the feed for EB Mods with it was a memory that came up where Ed had gone over to, I think, the Philippines or Taiwan. I guess he was either training other guys on how to tune or set up engines over there. I saw it like over the last week. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did see that. That was pretty cool.
So I was saying before, and then I hit some silence. But what's been going on with the rest of you guys? There hasn't been a lot of racing going on. We'll get to that in a minute. But Toby, got anything going on?
Not a whole lot in the RC arena. I've spent basically a whole month preparing my cars for the next RC race, so I've got absolutely no excuses for sucking in a week's time, whatever. So, but I went through those, rebuilt them. I got gluing a ton of tires, that kind of thing. But that's about as exciting as it gets. Playing a bit of VRC, working, having construction done at my house, working on my shoulder repair, that kind of stuff.
Nice. You bringing K-Car out?
Yep, both of them.
Hey, can you flap your wings now, Tobe? Let you go.
Oh, it fucking hurts. I'm getting there. I had PT tonight, but I ran on the treadmill for 45 minutes yesterday, which was not a good idea. I think that. And then I went out with a weed whacker and did things in my yard. Haven't quite felt the same since, so I'm hoping I didn't tear the tendon that I had fixed. But yeah,
Take it easy.
Yeah,
40+ life.
Ain't it?
Petrella, you probably got the most going on since you're running a track. So I'm gonna hop to Vin. Vin, what do you got going on?
Oh man, so this last week did a lot of testing with my e-buggy right here at the house, and just went through settings, went through various settings and different diff settings, and actually tested Matt Williard's setup and a couple other people, and it's been great. I've been using that So Dialed app and just getting ideas off that thing of what other people are running, and I was able to test some stuff, and I actually improved my baseline setup just from reading that. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, normal work stuff, planning board meeting last night. But yeah, living life to the fullest.
Construction and real estate. I hear that. Tommy P, what's going on in your realm?
Staying busy, my man. We got some racing going on, club racing going on. We get some really good entry counts over at the track. It's been a good time. A lot of new guys. Been working on getting Jim's grandson up to speed. He's flying in solo this weekend. I'll be on the ground on the radio helping him land the plane if he has any issues. But I'm looking forward to racing this weekend. But trying to keep the track going, trying to learn stuff about the dirt. Looking to pick G's brain a little bit later on. Some different things to try to do. We're trying to get the track surface figured out more. Drew up a new layout, ready for that. Probably gonna do that after the 4th of July. So I'm trying to get a new layout put in place. But man, just having a good time. Well, I was telling, I think, Toby, I heard you say VRC. I was playing a little bit of VRC before we came on. I haven't played that in forever, but I got a new radio, and I'm like, all right, well, if I have a new radio, at least I can experiment and use VRC to try it.
Nice.
So,
What tracks are you running on?
we just ran. You guys know Cappy, Kevin Pearson?
Yeah.
Long-time family hobbies guy. He's kind of getting back.
Yeah, I know him. I know him from Tap, and I think probably Family and South Jersey, whatever that track was called. That he went under.
But we were doing some VRCs. He had Nitro. We were doing Nitro Blast too.
You doing any European tracks?
I have in the past, yeah. But my problem is I'm playing on my laptop. I don't really have a monitor. It'd be nice if I had a bigger screen to see some of that stuff. Like, I love Padova. I think it's an awesome looking track.
Yeah, that's fun.
But, I feel like I'm barely seeing my car is far out there. I'm like, geez Louise, I wish I could zoom in like mid-race and then zoom back up. But I have a hard enough time doing the steering and the throttle. If I start trying to hit keyboards, I'm going to really have big issues.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of Argentina, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's another cool track.
Yeah.
A lot of cool tracks.
And Montpellier, which is challenging, but when you get it right, it's kind of fun.
Let me ask you this then, because I've been fooling around with a lot of time trials in there and stuff, just having a good time with it.
Yeah.
When you're into real racing for real, do you feel like you're pushing a lot harder than you are in VRC? Because I know as a VRC, I got to really slow down. But if I do, I'm getting really good lap times. But it seems like when I get out in the real world, ripping it. And maybe that's the secret. I got to slow down to go faster.
Yeah, I don't know. Cars feel a lot more looser and
VRC.
VRC than a real car. But I definitely enjoy some of the in-air stuff, being able to control the car when it's in the air and things like that. I think that really helps.
I've had a few people say that really helped them with that. It's, I was We talked about that last time, right? The pros make plenty of mistakes. They just know how to correct the mistake before it hurts them.
Yeah.
That's
I've been
where
trying
I'm
to
like,
focus on braking as well, which I'm terrible at. But I feel like I'm focusing on that,
cool.
rather than just going into a turn and just slamming the brakes on and then seeing what happens, trying to actually get a bit more organized about the whole thing and brake a little bit ahead of the turn and let the car go in. So,
Well, I've even
percentage
run
of
out real
brakes?
life rhythm. I was fooling around the other day. I just started all I did was tweak my brakes. I brought out my Tekin hot wire, changed the brake frequency, started changing a bunch of stuff just to try to figure out where that was. Because I know I had way too much brakes. I mean, I have very light brakes anymore. I'm not going to stop real quick, but it's just enough to get the car set and controllable. Because I can't modulate my brakes. I can modulate throttle, but brakes very hard for me to modulate on my radio.
yeah, and it's definitely obviously a lot harder to get it right. The brake bias on a nitro car, it's kind of when you get it right, it's good. But then if you take a server out, or change something in the car, and it gets all fucked up with it, then your car can just be a real handful on the track.
Yep.
Well, for the electric version, just like you said, Tom, kind of turn it down when I hit my brakes from like full throttle. It's definitely not a harsh brake. It's a smooth and then lightens up towards the end so that you don't get wheel lockup coming into a turn, or if you got a jam on it. But still, you got to be careful in the air because that setting could obviously hit you hard. So anyway, brakes are interesting. Nitro. You guys ever consider, as Nitro guys, using that magnetic tech brake system? I thought that was pretty wild.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool when it comes out.
Yeah.
I haven't
wow.
seen it. What's the magnetic brake?
Huh?
I'm not familiar with it. What is it, George?
Well, he's got get rid of your brake servo basically, and it's no, you need your brakes. You need your servo for your throttle, but the brake is completely controlled by a little processor, so you can kind of like a hot wire. You can program it by your phone or whatever. But you take away all that linkages and stuff. It's pretty slick. Check it out. What's it called? Mag brake, I think it is. But it's pretty unique.
So what it is, Tom, is just to add to what Toby was saying. There's basically two magnets and an assembly, and I think that sits over your center disc, right, where your normal brake caliper would be. And when you go to hit your brakes, it sends obviously a current through the magnets that sit on both sides, and that's how it stops the disc, slows the disc down. So it gets out of any of the linkage, and it's supposed to be smoother, softer. I think more tunable possibly, and I think it works off your receiver pack. So
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think digitally you can control your bias, which is pretty sweet. You know what I mean?
I know Drake uses a clutch on his electric car, so it feels more like it's nitro, right?
Yeah, I've done that for a while when I ran techno.
Did you switch back with the K car, or are you still using it?
I mean, I'm not running the buggy much anyway, so right now it's just shelved because I destroyed the speed controller, but I haven't really dabbled in it in that car. But I used to run it all the time with techno.
Gotcha.
none of the local
You,
guys.
George, what's going on in your world?
Well, just to add to that, none of the local guys, to my knowledge, maybe way back when I would hear a clutch on an electric, but any of the nitro guys that run electric still, I don't hear any of that. So maybe they just found the knack for both. My world, same shit. Building houses. Got a daughter about to go to college, so I got a couple busy months coming ahead of me, and trying to squeeze in a little RC racing and RC boating, stuff like that. So really excited. The weather's great, at least it's been lately, and just love the warm weather. Excited about the summer. That's what I got.
It's gonna feel like summer this week or next week.
It's definitely. We got the beach 5 minutes from my house too, so I'm excited to actually get down there maybe on Sunday. But we were going to jump forward and try to hit some race recaps. Toby might not be prepped for that as of yet, so I was wondering maybe we can throw up a new product image that I found since I started running the Kyosho car a couple of weeks ago. There's been, I guess, a lot of discussion since I didn't have a lot of prior knowledge that the arms could be susceptible to breakage. So I heard they came out with some thicker plastic, at least for the MP10E, or at least in this latest version. But in the meantime, I did see some really cool carbon inserts that they put up. I did see it off of Live RC. So there was an image that I had sent to Toby. If we can get it up, great. If not, I'm considering it, getting those just in case. So far, so good. I ran one full race with the car, didn't have any issues. Definitely took good abuse, so we'll see what happens.
Have you guys had? I talked to a few guys with the Kyosho cars saying they were finding that some of the molds had air bubbles in them. Like when they see the arm break, they'll look inside and they can see gaps in the plastic. Have you seen that? Maybe they just had a bad batch.
I'm gonna look closer next time around, but assembling the car, I didn't see anything like that.
Yeah, if you have one break, hopefully you don't knock wood. Hopefully you have nothing go bad like that. But if something does, look inside. I remember somebody had it. They looked inside. You actually see, the air in the plastic, which was odd. But maybe it was a bad batch.
We definitely have to keep an eye out for that. Too bad Cruz isn't on. He could have given us a little bit of some insight on that. I'll have to ask Pierce if he's ever seen it too.
Yeah, they do have Kyosho do have also they have like I think 3 different there's like a soft, medium, hard arm as well, I believe. Or they've changed the soft arm as different part numbers, I believe. So but I get kind of confused, especially now we get into the hot weather. People are gonna have to start thinking about switching out maybe different arms or something. I don't know.
They also came out with a chassis stiffener, which I thought was pretty cool too. Not that the current one wasn't formidable, but it looks like this one extends a little bit farther back. And I was reading it had some, it still maintained the wire harness assembly. So I have to take another look at it. So anybody's got a Kyosho, if you like those new products, you can take a look at them at Live RC. They're available on their new product link. That's all I got to say about that. There was a recent race last weekend, right, Toby? At the barn?
Yeah, last weekend was a club race, but I believe 2nd of June was the NES Round 1 race. Popular race series. It's been running now for, I don't know, I was going to look into that. But it's been running for years. I believe it's between the barn and Trains and Lanes. So this was race number 1. Pretty decently attended, if I'm not mistaken. Just waiting for my computer to show up here. We had 85 entries, which is not bad. Just walk through some of the results. So Nitro Buggy saw the reappearance of Brian Carter. I have not seen him race in quite a while now, but it's good to see him still in the scene. I know his brother's been doing some oval stuff. He runs full-size sprint cars. Benny up second, just finishing 16 seconds behind Carter. Pretty good showing. And his dad, Ophir, in that third position. Looks like Benny got a lap on him, which is always good to see. 40 plus, Ophir taking down the win. Rutledge, good to see him out there. And Dennis Brew, the bump master, in for third. Truggy, Benny again. Benny's becoming a bit of a Truggy expert. Beating his dad again, which is, again, good to see. Ophir for second. Matt Sjogren, I don't know Matt personally, but he finished on the lead lap, just 7 seconds behind Ophir. Nitro Buggy, that is the wait a minute. What is going on? Oh, sorry, I talked about E-Buggy. It was Brian Carter, Ben Ophir. That's what happens when I have my glasses on, trying to be something in front of me. Juan Lopez taking another win in Nitro Buggy. Christian Toik for second. Carter in third. And Nitro Truggy still hanging on for dear life out there. Carter, Benny, and Mark Broderick. That's your top 3. And pretty much everything that ran last week, 2 weeks ago at the NES race. I don't think there's been any other significant races, right? You guys know?
No.
I don't think trains. We only did this podcast a while ago, right? So the last one. TZO race, May 11th. I guess maybe the Electric Challenge was the last thing that I think we broadcast before that, right? Last time, May 11th. Let's take a look at that. 114 entries, 61 drivers. So this is a spec tire e-buggy race. I think they had double A main results. I feel like I've talked about this before. I don't know. But Scheffler, Ophir, Colin Morse. I think I covered this. Sound familiar? Yeah, May. All right, we're in June. Sorry, I'm losing track of May. Losing track. So we're in June now. So where'd George go? Looks like we lost him.
Well, I'll give a shout out to a few guys who are waiting for George to come back. Just club racing at my track had a few guys doing really well. We go back and take a look. Nitro Buggy, A-Main, Mike Sinali. Mike's been killing it. He's doing really well. We had it was a battle of attrition in the Nitro race, but Sinali, Jason Massey, Brandon Branham, those three were your top three. 40 plus e-buggy, Mike Sinali again with Mark Kimley in 2 and Kevin Pearson in 3. Good to see him. Rich Chambers was out there. Tom McHugh did good again. Alan Hicks. Some good names. We had a pretty good turnout there. Regular e-buggy. Harmer came out and schooled pretty much everybody.
Yep.
He, I think he had it by 2 laps over second place. And second place was Zach Sinclair and then Dan Ross, which neither one are slouches at all, but Greg was being Greg, man. He was just rolling. Getting some short course trucks out there, which has been pretty cool. Larry Mullen, Alan Hicks, Keith Simmons. Good to see the short course trucks out there. And we didn't have enough for Nitro Truggy. We with those game with the e-truggies, but Greg ran e-truggy. See what happened there. Kimley in 2 and Ezra Cork up in the 3 spot. So good turnout, good runs.
I got to build a short course for Motorama next year.
All right.
Decided. Yeah, that's all I'm going to run. Short course.
Nice.
Why not? It seems to be the most fun class. There's like 20 entries, but I think it'll just be fun. You know what I mean?
It's like getting back to your roots, man.
Yeah, right. Charge it and go.
What tires are working at your track down there at Rhythm?
Been running a lot. Some of the guys are liking Reflex. It seems to be a mid-sized lug. Seems to be working pretty well. I said I haven't run it myself a ton, but a lot of guys are talking about the problem. The front straight gets really hard. The front straight's like asphalt. I mean, I was out there. We're watching people warming up. Ezra's out there with his car on blue relapses, just punching it and pulling the front end up in the air. There's so much bite out there.
Wow.
But then you get on the back side of the track and there's a little bit more loam and dust, and you don't have the bite. So you're kind of like you can almost get away with a bar or like a relapse. On the front straight side, you get towards the back. If you get out of the groove, it gets a little bit loamier. So it seems to be like a mid-sized pin. I just bought a bunch of Stalkers I want to try. I got some Falcons. I think between the 2 of those are going to be really good. I bought Blues for this weekend and some Aquas. It's supposed to be pretty warm out. So we'll see how it does. Again, we're still trying to learn the dirt. Again, more questions for G, but now we're just watering the outside edges to try to keep the dust down. And when we do that, it grooves up pretty hard. But basically, to answer your question, mid-sized pin. If we can get it to groove up a little bit more on the backside of the track, absolutely would be like a relapse or a detox or that type of tire.
Cool.
Hey, Vin, I wanted to ask you, have you gotten any feedback from your setup segment, whether it's been anybody messaging you or anybody reaching out to you? A lot of good content that you put out, so just wanted to see if anybody's hit you up.
Yeah. A couple people have told me it's helped. One person told me to slow down a little bit and make it a little bit easier for the beginner to understand the basic concepts of it. So to kind of bring it back a little bit like that. So, take one tip at a time, but
cool. Feedback's always a good thing,
Yeah.
I just feel like you're talking, no one's listening.
I wish I knew how to edit the edit the videos, because we kind of cool just to take the setup sections and put those together. Right? Have like an hour episode of Vin's setup stuff, because there's a lot of great information there. Be kind of cool to summarize it almost, at least for myself selfishly. I could watch it at the track and keep track of what I want to do.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
think I could potentially do that. I think in StreamYard.
Yeah, I didn't want to volunteer you, Toby. You got enough going on, but
Yeah,
now that you said it,
What
I'll
do you
check
do,
it out.
Toby? You kind of like mark it in the recording? Do you have a way to mark it as it's recording?
I mean, you'd have to individually download all the episodes and then go through and slice
Right.
it up. But it's not a big deal. It's doable. Send
It's
money.
all do.
I'll give you my PayPal. PayPal.
make Vin a YouTube channel. Be an influencer.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta stop this influencing thing.
Yeah, it's pretty gay.
There's no even Cam didn't like it. I think we called him an influencer again today.
Yeah, he was like,
And
"Oh, cringe factor."
Let's sorry, Cam. We don't mean that. Anyway.
All good. All right.
I want to talk quickly about Insanity Raceway. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's right.
not that I have ever been there, not that anyone's actually prodded me to talk about it, but a little indoor track in New Jersey, and pretty nice little thing. They're getting Wednesday and weekend club racing going, and actually looking at the track service looks really good. They're not, from what I can tell, they're not treating it. It's just just good dusty indoor racing with you can see that race line picking up there. A lot of guys, short course, looks like stadium trucks, 2 or 4 wheel buggy. So, another option to race 10 scale outdoors but covered. So it's pretty rare these days. But you guys check it out, Insanity Raceway. They're on Facebook. So
Yeah,
Looks like a great place to break in a short course truck, Toby.
exactly. That's another reason why I think
P-Word's been out there running really well. I see P-Word out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's cleaning up.
That's really cool. Indoor 10 scale, like you were saying, that groove looks great. It just goes to show you what a little covering will do for your indoor dirt, right?
Yeah,
More laps you put
I
on
feel
it.
like it's just going to get better when it gets hotter next week.
Do you know where that is in New Jersey? Did you say that?
It's
Booton, New Jersey. It's
Yeah.
off 287, near like where 287 and 80 intersect. It's right near there. It's a little bit north off 287.
I think it's fairly close to Dirt Runners up in that area of the world. If you guys ever know what Dirt Runners is, Oak Ridge, Jersey.
Not far from Crispy.
Yeah, a little up there.
Yeah, Dirt Runner's right near New York, right near the border.
Dirt Runners?
Yeah, it's all the way up in Oak Ridge. You just go a little bit farther.
Yeah,
basically,
I makes
in New
sense.
York.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is New York. You're right.
Up 15.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to get the show on the road. We got a great guest that's sitting in our waiting room, and his name is Garland Smith Jr., and he is from Roar as well as a track owner, and we're going to welcome him into the show. Hey, G.
All right.
How you folks doing?
What's up, buddy?
Good to see you, G.
Hopefully, we'll have a good season at every track this year. And I appreciate you having me on. It's a lot. Not many people want to see my ugly face, but I appreciate you guys having me here.
It's our pleasure.
You're probably losing a lot of viewers because of me. People tuning out, throwing up.
Considering your company, you look pretty damn good, Jim. But
All right, let me just clear everything up. All right. Everyone loves Garland. Okay. We know this is the guy that I remember at Fuel Nats. He just goes up to the ice cream guy, throws down like a big, like a handful of cash, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna make an announcement. All the kids get free ice cream." And he bought everybody ice cream at Fuel Nats. I'll never forget it. I thought it was like the nicest thing in the world. Yeah, it was. He made sure the boys put up a post for Father's Day, and made sure they posted up, Happy Father's Day, Dad. He took a picture and sent it over to me, a Happy Father's Day picture. So yeah, one of the nicest, kindest people in RC right here, right before us. Thank you for being on, Garland.
Stop talking about yourself, Ben.
Come on, man.
You've been too nice to me, man. I don't deserve it, but I do appreciate the kind words. Hopefully I can live up to it for a while longer. But time will tell. Let's see what happens here.
No, you're doing great, buddy. You're doing great.
So, what do you guys want to discuss with me today?
Garland, ironically, right? When I text you back today, I had forgotten that you and I actually had communication back in like 2017, which was interesting. When me and a couple other guys down here were running Wall RC, so that was great. Just hold on one second. Toby, do you hear that feedback too?
Yeah, I think it's Tom. I just muted him.
I think it's Vinny, but not blaming, just saying that the volume on your computer. Vinny, can you mute a second? We'll find out. Is that better?
I was on mute.
You
Got
was
in time.
Droop. I think it's your headset set. It's
Uh-huh.
All right. Oh, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right, cool. I can hear you guys. So, Garland, you are an owner and operator of a track, and obviously you are currently the vice president of Roar. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. For people that aren't familiar, as well as much as we are, Roar, by the way, stands for Remotely Operated Auto Racing. So, for those of you who didn't know that, it's an important fact and description for the governing body that Garland's part of. Before you were the vice president, can you talk to us a little bit about how you ended up getting into Roar and what was the motivation that you had to do so? I think I read someplace that you may have started as a volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely. I did start as a volunteer. Roar has had a lot of negative views in many people's eyes, bad experiences, and it's comprised of a lot of volunteers, unpaid positions. And you mentioned that it's remotely operated auto racers. Back when before I was with Roar, people used to describe it as ripping off another racer because they just had such great hatred towards Roar racing. And I was kind of falling in line with that. Then I decided, it's made up of volunteers. Maybe instead of complaining and sitting back and watching people fail, maybe I'll be part of the solution and get involved. So when I saw the president / Region 2 director at that time struggling at a regional event, I offered my assistance, and he named me interim Region 2 director. And I ended up getting voted in as Region 2 director for racing. And I'm still presiding as the Region 2 director. There's been some hiccups within that whole situation, but I keep moving forward. Some people lose faith. But, you got to keep in mind, like I said, it is a volunteer position, and there's only so much we can do on our own. I really put a lot of effort into it, and through the years, lost a lot of money, and try to do the best I can for tracks, racers, race programs, RC community in general. And sometimes I fall a little bit short, but I putting my effort forward, and I see people like you all here, trying to keep the momentum going in a positive direction. And I greatly appreciate what you're doing.
We appreciate what you've already done in the past and continue to do. That goes without saying. Can you explain to people that might not be as familiar what exactly the Region 2 comprises? What states?
Okay. Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, DC, New Jersey. And we've had different events throughout all these different locations. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to gain the trust of the track owners. They're looking for some type of benefit to being Roar affiliated. And sometimes it is very difficult to try to express which way they can actually benefit from Roar. Through our racetrack here in Shippensburg, we have saved quite a bit for liability insurance for the track itself because we are Roar affiliates. Roar provides $1 million of liability coverage for its members and its facilities. So that is something that the insurance companies kind of look at and give you a little bit of a break on your regular rates. You can activate as a club and act as a club and simply not even have a business license. Develop your own nonprofit organization within your area and operate and have fun as a group. So there are some things that can be done that we've tried to implement and kind of fell short on. My first year as Region 2 director, I really took the ball and started running with it, and I kind of overstepped myself. I tried to start a scholarship program for junior racers. I was doing an Uprise program, which was basically underprivileged children. We were trying to put RC cars in the hands of underprivileged children who can't afford it, like some base level entry RC vehicles to get them involved, try to get them to move away from some of the negative aspects in the world. And like I've always said, right now, if we look around at the RC racing community, you're going to see that we're all getting older. How many of us have glasses on now, and how many are going to need them? So my depth perception is horrible anymore. So we developed these master's classes, which was 40 plus, and then going to 45 and 50, and then sooner or later it'll be barely alive. So we got to get those youth racers into it. When I saw Vin there with his boys, Aiden and Dylan, I mean, he's a great role model, great father, and there's so many great people in RC. I just think we need to focus on the positive. Sometimes there is some negative aspects that people kind of bring out and deter people from advancing in RC, but we need to outshine all the negativity and move towards the positive in everything that we do.
So here's a quote that I actually found that you had said many years ago. You said, RC is good family fun. It gets us out from behind the screen. Get out real time with live human contact and physical exertion. You meant marshalling, for that matter, which barely covers physical exertion, but nonetheless, what a great statement, right? That's basically what you were recapping right there.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's very easy for kids to get caught up in video games, cell phones, tablets, anything where they don't have any actual human interaction, in-person human interaction. And like even with the turn marshaling, when I say about physical exertion, I mean, you get out there when you're turn marshaling, you can learn a lot about racing just by doing like track walks and standing in certain marshaling spots just to see how other drivers are handling different obstacles and troubled areas within the track, and learn a lot from each other, help each other. And I just feel that we need to grow as a community, because how many people are in the United States and how many people actually know what real RC car racing is. It's not really toys. It's an actual racing program that we try to put on here, and some people have no idea what it is.
That's true, and that's part of our story, trying to get more exposure out for RC, pass some good stories along.
Awesome.
Garland, I was doing some other research about you, and I guess at the time when you were Region 2 director, and then you were, I'm not sure if you were just applying for move up and be VP, but you had some goals that I'm gonna just read off. I just want to see whether or not you feel that you accomplished your goals, or whether or not you're still working toward them. You were looking for better communication within Roar.
Yeah.
And you were looking to get more racers and manufacturers back involved in Roar.
Okay. Well, as far as communication, I mean, there's been quite a few change of hands within the executive committee. Some are a little bit more involved, than others. Some have their own passions within the executive committee, and sometimes we might not agree with one another, but we have to respect one another and look at the overall picture to try to grow everything. When it comes to hitting my goals, no matter what I do, how great I feel, or how great other people think that I am my own biggest critic, because I always know that I can do better and that we all can do better. I don't want to accept mediocrity, but sometimes I do fall short, and whenever I do, I try to look at where I failed and how I could do better in the future. So right now, there's a couple things that I'm kind of frustrated within the executive committee, but I don't want to speak too much on that because I need to discuss that with them and decide what my future is with the organization. It is kind of stressful. I've been volunteering at any time with the Roar Nationals. I have volunteered and built my schedule for my facility here around Roar racing schedules for the Nationals, around LCRC and other major people within the region, and try not to compete. I want to work together with everyone and try to make sure everybody has their fair share. If I had my way, we'd all have 200 entries, every single event. But the only way to get there is to get more people involved. Right now you're looking around. I look at Live RC and I see where people are going, and I'm seeing like the same names, like traveling around, and we're fighting for the same group of guys. So it's about getting that exposure out there. And like I said, to reiterate, you guys are doing a great job here. Been trying to watch some of your different podcasts and catch up on some stuff, but I get kind of sidetracked. With preparation here, going for the Nats and trying to make phone calls and working full time pretty much here. And it's an uphill battle, but I believe we can get there for sure.
Well,
So
you put on a great event. Sorry, George. Yeah, the last ENETs at your facility, we had a great time, and we're looking forward to this one in August.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Ben. It's been very difficult to acquire any type of sponsorship this year. You can see the flyer there. I see you put it up. It has been very tough. I know ever since the whole COVID situation happened, everybody's pretty tight. Prices on everything have gone way up from where they were. We started our hobby shop and racetrack back in 2002 in Maryland. And I found a couple of the invoices and looking what I was paying for glow plugs at $1.19 a piece. And
Wow.
are now, it's crazy to think, buying a gallon of fuel for $10 as a dealer, it's non-existent anymore. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for people to get into it. But yeah, with this national coming up, I'm very hopeful that we can try to get the numbers up there. Actually, the registration just opened up for this. And some of the items that I placed in the bid that was accepted for deviations were basically other kind of scenarios that have been used at other events in the past, and just recently they were denied. So I was kind of building upon that to grow this particular race. I mean, I know RC, a lot of people focus on nitro, but electric is really there, paying the bills for a lot of different racetracks. I mean, like for instance, Pit Stop, they're electric only track now. They're getting a pretty good following there. But nitro is awesome. I'm not taking anything away from any type of platform or chassis or manufacturer or anything at all. But this particular race had the most entries at LCRC, I think you see here, back in 2015. They had 204 entries. Now, that's probably the lowest entry count that LCRC ever had in their life. 204 entries. So that's what I've been trying to build upon. With my race back in 2022, the National, we had quite a few disappointments in my view anyway. We had probably maybe 6 or so, 6 to 10 probably sponsored guys sign up. And as Joe RC out there, the average Joe, when they go to these type of events, to justify spending that extra money, they want to get out there and rub elbows with a pro and maybe get some signatures and and feel good about the whole situation and experience. And we didn't have that for that because we were in a situation where the Visions race came out that year, and they were on the same exact date. Well,
Yep.
I was in a situation where I either had to make a choice to step on somebody's date in my region, which I was not going to do, give up the race completely, or take the L and take whatever I can get. And I took the L. You know, if Roar as organization was going to force my hand to switch a date, I would suggest that we would offer it to one of the existing tracks in the region, because I do not want to be that guy. I respect people too much to do something like that. And fortunately enough, it kind of worked out for us. You know, we had the most entries. We had 146 entries, with the majority of the pros going out to Jay, Oklahoma for the Visions race. And then I can't recall the name of the race that happened the same weekend where Adam Drake was in New York, and they had like 200 plus entries. So I know the East Coast, especially the Northeast here, can pretty much bring in any type of E18 scale race, bring it to its maximum capacity. I would love to see this race become a generally sold out race, just like the Fuel Mats. You look at Motorama. How quick does that sell out? Anybody? A couple
11
hours?
minutes.
Yeah, this year.
Minutes,
Minutes.
minutes this year.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
insane.
Bad memories for Toby.
it's crazy.
It's a nightmare.
That's what I wanted to do. Actually, I wanted to stay on the East Coast, particularly because the highest numbers for that race itself have been on the East Coast. 146, 144, 204. I think the only one that was even close was out in California, 158, I think it was. But that might have been Silver State or something, some big well-known track. I can't recall somewhere, because I put that in an appeal for holding the race as well. But this race, it was kind of banking towards the submitted deviation of running 4 classes, and that was denied here just recently, where people would run the e-buggy and masters of e-buggy, and the e-buggy and e-truggy and masters of e-truggy. And there were people that ran 4 classes last year. So I was kind of disappointed with that, because that's kind of what I was pushing towards the manufacturers. When the manufacturers kind of look at this, they're looking at the numbers. You know, it's a numbers game. What's driving people to come there? And it's an investment. You know, why do I want to spend all this money trying to support this event when I'm not going to get the show? And I can completely understand that. You know, you got to get the bang for your buck. So with this particular race that we're having this year, all of the money that the track would receive is going directly from Roar, is going directly to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, one of my favorite, charities that I support. That and Ronald McDonald House and No Kill Animal Shelters. I try to do as much as I can every year. Nothing grand and spectacular, but I figured if we could sell this out, that would be a good bit of money that could go to them and get more exposure for RC, the manufacturers, and everything. And right now, it's kind of fizzling out, and I'm kind of I don't know how to say it. Kind of torn down because of this, not being able to do this. It's very wearing on my emotional state, because I have a lot of passion for RC. I think it's a great thing. I built my first RC track when I was 8 years old in an abandoned lot in Baltimore, picking up drug needles, broken bottles, and all sorts of ugly, nasty things out there. And me and the other kids in the neighborhood, we got away from some of the bad element just by doing this, Then I ended up building a basketball court. Just something kids need something to do. Idle hands, Plus, their hands are magic. Eye-hand coordination when you're young nowadays, just because of the video games, I mean, if we got, let's say, another 10% of the U.S. population into RC, some of these pros would have to really watch their backs, because there are people out there that never had an RC controller in their hand that are just going to put the pressure on them or put them to work. You know, they're going to have to earn their money, earn their paychecks. But that being said, I'm just hoping that we have a good event and everybody has a good year and this rain stays away, because it's been pretty miserable with the rain the beginning of this season.
Tell you what,
Beginning
though, I've
of the
never seen
season.
somebody get a track. You get that track in pretty good shape pretty quick, though, if there's bad weather. I've seen you post some videos up of some heavy rain at night, and then come morning, you're ready to rock and roll. That's a lot of effort. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Tom, it's any outdoor off-road track needs to know their dirt. Essentially, you know, that's one good thing. At the beginning of the National in 2022, we had a couple guys show up. It had just poured down rain. I'm out there struggling. I don't have a whole lot of support here. So a lot of stuff, I mean, Vin and his boys came out here and helped me with the turf track for almost, I guess it was a week, wasn't it, Vin? Helped me get that together. These guys are amazing. I mean, I appreciate every bit of help that I get, but I struggle sometimes because most of the people that come here to race are from quite a bit away. So they can't really dedicate the time as if they were local. So I like I say, I'm greatly appreciative of that. But
You can count on us again, buddy. I don't mean to interrupt, but you can count on us coming over there and helping you out again. I know you taught the boys a lot, and they learned a lot about how to take care of a track, and we took that back to trains and lanes and made that track a little bit better. So thank you.
you know, Vin, I could never teach them as much as you can, because you're the example for those boys. You know, whenever I see fathers and sons interacting, any type of parent interacting with a hobby and recreation and getting involved and showing passion and caring and consideration for something that their kids are into, it's the world. I was never able to have children myself. And sometimes that's actually, I was a teacher at one point, and mentally it was so wearing when I found out that I couldn't have children, that I had to leave the school environment, because being around all these children and seeing how excited they were to see their parents and realizing that I would never have that for myself was very, very tough for me. But I still didn't want to give up on trying to help children and families. So that's how I fell back onto my RC background. My mother found a drawing from when I was in first grade. My nickname is Jay. Well, was Jay as a child, because my father's name, my grandfather's name is Garland. So I'm actually the third, by the way. I'm sorry. The Facebook page, that's the Garland Smith Jr. is actually tied to the GSRC page. So I didn't want to do a bunch of switching around and have any accidentally like something and have something inappropriate or foul language or something show up on there. So I didn't want to have that affiliated. So I actually have a Garland Smith Facebook page for myself if you guys want to like that too. But I try to keep children away from that, because there are some people put some funny memes up that have curse words or profane language, and I try to curb that as much as possible. But I get going. I lose my train of thought here as to where we were going with the conversation. But yeah, you guys definitely helped out a bunch. And when I was out there trying to recover the track from that miserable rain before the race, there were a couple racers that showed up, the early birds, and they said that the track looked terrible. They didn't understand that I was out there placing peat moss around the track. You know, they thought it was just like a tilled up track, and peat moss was actually helping set in and absorb some of the excess rain. Whenever I come up with a track design, I always taper it towards drainage. It's not going to do anybody any good to have a pond out there unless we're going to race some boats that weekend. So they said the track looked horrible and they wanted to see if they could get their money back. Well, I whipped that track into shape. You know, that lit a fire underneath me. And when Dakota Fenn said, at the next race that I saw him when I was at RMT, he said, "Oh yeah, you're the guy with the magic dirt." You know, I've never heard him mention a track, anything like that. So I mean, say something good about track. So that made me feel really good about my efforts. Also, I built Mimi's track down in Gaithersburg for her national. The first time I came up with the treatment for her track, um, we had that national there. It was a fresh build. Nobody was even on it, except for a couple ready to run guys that I had them just test the lips of the jump. And I treated it, sealed it, glued it, put different additives into the dirt, and got it worked out. And they pros were swearing that people were running on it for months because it was black, right out of the gate, because I sealed peat moss into the dirt and then topped it with the glue. So when they got out there and started pulling wheelies and such, I had other tracks and testments come up to me and people wondering, like, what did I do? Had people contact me, see if I could help them. I'll give anybody whatever information that they need to help them out. I tried to help several tracks. Some of them didn't want to hear it, and then they wanted to know what I did after the fact. But everybody can do the same thing that I did. I've been investigating different soil additives like they use for landing aircraft and fields on dirt, kind of suppressants and polymers to bind the soil molecules together. And I found some things that work pretty good for our type of clay dirt mixture here. Um, Found out what worked for Meanie's track down there, and I'm actually going to be going to Louisiana to help one of my former racers here. He wants to build an RC track, and he wants me to come out there and do that for him. So I'm glad to help anybody. That's what it's all about: giving back and making the sport grow, the hobby grow, and the community. And that's what I've been all about for quite some time now.
So, G, you've been talking about your track, right? And we saw some great pictures of it. Can you explain to people that aren't as familiar with you and your history how your hobby shop started and how your track started? And do you have two tracks? Do you have an indoor track and an outdoor?
No. Okay. Well, first time when I decided, after I found out that I couldn't have children, back in 2001, I decided, I was going to do something else that I could still reach children and do good things for the family unit. And ended up buying a place in Hagerstown, Maryland, a 10,000 square foot building. I had an indoor track, hobby shop, and an outdoor track, but they were all on road. And we were there from 2002 to 2005. And the majority of our sales and the majority of our customers were from Pennsylvania. The majority of our sales were for off-road vehicles. But still, I only paid $140,000 for the building and sold it for $275,000. So it made a pretty decent return for it. Ended up with all sorts of product left over. Came up here and bought this property after doing some research and talking to the local township and explaining what our plans were. Originally, we were going to put up a 19,000 square foot building over top of the premises and operate temporarily into the barn right now as a hobby shop and build like a little driver stand and operate the outdoor track until all the land planning was finished and everything met the criteria that the township wanted. Well, we go forward with the purchase of the property, the land planning and everything, and we start setting up for racing. And this is like a Amish Mennonite community. When they found out that we were operating on Sunday, they were not happy at all by any means. And, unfortunately, there's not much you can do about that because, this is a recreation. Most people work Monday through Friday jobs. So we had to accommodate, and they turned us into the township saying that we had illegal footers when actually we were cementing in some 4x6s for a ramp for our patrons that were coming in wheelchairs. So we got shut down. We lost a $60,000 deposit. It was just a mess. We had to hire a lawyer. They made us put in a bathroom in the barn here temporarily until, even though we had it in our plan to put it in the 19,000 square foot building, and we had porta pots and everything out here in the meantime, they made us put it in a bathroom here, and that was like crazy expensive because we weren't in the know. I learned quite a bit through this process from other neighbors here that are now in the area that you're better to ask for forgiveness than to try to do things the right way. And I've never wanted to do the things the wrong way. I've always wanted to avoid controversy, but business people, they know how to do things. So I wish I was more business savvy at that point in my life, but we still make a go of it. Right now we have the turf track out back, which I'm finishing up some jumps on now. And I'll be building the announcing booth for that here this week. That shouldn't take too much longer for that. Had a couple guys come out and help me with that. That's going to be an operation here probably in a week and a half, 2 weeks, open it up for practice. And then when we do the full national rebuild, we'll be operating on that while we do the rebuild for the track. And I've been reaching out to a couple different people trying to get some resources for different additives and treatments for the track at a discounted rate, but they haven't gotten back to me. So what I end up doing is losing a bunch of money for this race, but it'll be worth it to me to try to make this race the best it possibly can be and grow every year that it takes place at whatever venue it's held.
What's the date of the EMAS again?
It is August 29th through September 1st. On the August 28th, it's a track control practice. I don't know how the mini truggy or four-wheel drive mod stadium type of class is at your track, any tracks around, but there for a while it was pretty popular. So I looked in the rule book and saw that we had rules for four-wheel drive stadium truck, and I wanted to adapt them to bring that back as a national class, especially when the Techno and the X-Ray started popping up, and then PR Racing had their version, and I wanted to get that involved, try to add that on to the short course because the numbers just weren't there for this race. And plus, I think they're pretty awesome. Those little tiny trucks are very, very durable. Regardless of the manufacturer, they're awesome. And I spoke with Mr. Testman, Mr. Ciccarello over at X-Ray, RC America. I spoke with Matt over at Techno and the people over at PR Racing, and we got some measurements, dimensions. I turned them into the executive committee, and they brought it back as a national championship class because it was indeed in our rule books, but we had to make modification for the body difference and the wing stay because originally the four-wheel drive stadium truck was a spoiler just like the two-wheel drive stadium truck. So we got that in place. We had it the first year here at our track. Before the race, I think we only had 5 people signed up and ended up with 16. But last year was the first time I've ever seen this while on the executive committee that four-wheel drive short course and mini truck were eliminated from the entry list because they didn't have enough entries to be deemed necessary for the event. And that's where I putting in all the effort trying to get that class active and trying to grow this particular race. It felt like a slap in the face, and I don't mean to be negative towards anybody in the committee, but that it did. It felt like a slap in the face. And I knew for sure, especially with this race and circumstances from the years past, that this particular race is one of those races where people will show up at the last minute, sign up at the last minute, or add classes on. So with that being said, this race is going to happen. I have to get at least 5 short course and 5 mini truggies signed up by July 15th. So if I don't have anybody signed up, I'm going to buy 5 entries of each. And we're going to have this race one way or the other. I'm going to pay for the awards for those classes. There's going to be no reason why we can't have that race. So I'm determined that it's going to happen and grow, as well as I'm putting incentives in place for this particular race that anybody that signs up for those 2 classes, mini truggy, 4-wheel drive short course, can race here the rest of the year. Those two classes as additional classes for free. So if you sign up for the nationals, you're going to benefit from it. You're going to make your money back if you come out here to race those classes, because I want to see it grow. Like I said, fuel nets, it's going to, no matter where it's at, it's going to sell out the majority of the time. It's a given, just like Motorama. If the Motorama doesn't sell out in a day, the end of the world's coming or something like that, because that's a major event. People want to get out there, have fun, hang out with their buddies, and it's right in our backyard. You guys have Rhythm. I've been looking at some of the videos there. See some great action going on, and Drive, and I wish you much success, sir. All of you. 46 RC. Watch the videos from LCRC. Your production quality is amazing.
Thanks, man.
Just the fact that you guys are putting so much effort in everything that you do. George, was it Wall RC? Good Lord. That place, when I saw some of the entry counts that you guys had up there, I mean, New Jersey could like really blow up. I mean, I remember going up to TAP, and I actually talked to George, the owner there, and I looked around, and it was like 20, I think it was 24,000 square foot space that he had.
The place was huge.
All the potential. And I'm like, this guy could just rake in the money. He could just open a vault right in the back if it's done right. And things just didn't work out. I don't know the full circumstances, but man, there's just so much potential up there. There's so much following up north of here. It's ridiculous. I feel kind of sad for picking this location, because it's like off the beaten path, but it's right on the highway. So I figured that's the reasoning that I picked behind it. I mean, the only way I'll make out here is selling it to a warehouse, the property, because all the farms around here are being sold for warehouse, so they'll need access points to get there. But
Hey,
yeah,
G,
sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I didn't want the conversation to go too much farther past something that you had mentioned a little while ago.
Okay, absolutely.
Hopefully you can hear me with the audio. In some of the research that I had done on you, one of the things that you said that you were going to try to follow up with was that I guess there were so many updates or additions to the Roar book of rules that you were going to try to have it consolidated so that there was one new updated version. That ever happened?
The most recent rule book that is published right now, I believe it was in February of this year, 2024. The bad thing about this is there have been some mishaps with that consolidation as we review things, discuss it, and then try to implement it. But some things are omitted and intentionally omitted. So we found that out the hard way when we reread it, and have to go through it. So my suggestion has always been have like a running rule book where it would show addendums and the dates that we made the changes and reasoning behind it. Maybe put it in a different color. I like to see more history of where the rules originated from and what they were based off of. That's one thing I've always strived to try to find, but I never could get good answers on the rules. Like for instance, the only thing I could ever figure with the LiPo charge rule, which so many racers come up to me at these national events and they're like, why is it only 8.4 volts when my battery can be charged to 8.44? And I said, the only thing I can think is that there's been a history of the original chemistry. The batteries were a little bit more volatile and more apt to have issues when you charge past that threshold. So I never got, confirmation of that, but that's what I assume, because the technology is going to surpass anything that we can do. Just like there was a whole situation with the truggy bodies, the bruggy bodies. That was a big thing. And we got to get ahead of everything. We got to start talking to manufacturers. That's one thing I get very frustrated is because we're all volunteers, we all have our own lives, that sometimes we can't put as much attention into it as we should. And I'm not tearing down the other committee members at all, by no means. I mean, anybody that's willing to do anything for RC, I commend anybody that does something positive. And it's just I'm always looking to better myself, and I want everybody to know that no matter how good we're doing, we can always do more for ourselves, our friends, our family, and back to you, don't want to. But I'm not sure if I heard your question about 3 hours sleep the past 2 days. So I'm a little
Yeah,
bit.
you most definitely answered my question. One of the other questions I had was obviously you're operating an RC business, you have an RC track. How did you actually get into RC in the beginning? What was your first experience?
Well, growing up in Baltimore,
Aside from what you mentioned with the kids and picking up the needles, I had read someplace before. I'm sorry, I just want to give you a little lead on this. You said you had gone to your first race in Glen Burnie at a hobby town.
Town, USA, they were out in the parking lot down there off of Ritchie Highway in Glen Burnie. They would set it up on the weekend, tear it right back down after the races. They'd have people packed around there. Had some really, really fun races. It was very exciting. I never really had the coordination to do very well with RC myself, but I just loved it. It was like an adrenaline thing for me. I never was as much into full scale racing, but watching these toy cars, things that I can actually afford and play with, take apart, put back together, maybe modify, that always appealed to me. And just watching them fly around there, back at the time, I can't. What was the Clint Eastwood movie where they had the little RC-10 in there? Was it Deadpool? Not,
It was Deadpool. I remember that. Jay Halsey. Absolutely.
that got me fired up. I wanted to soup up anything I could. I'm taking batteries apart, screwing stuff up, just nonstop trying to get this thing faster. Modifying, putting parts from other vehicles on the different ones, trying to see what matches, what doesn't. It was just a little project for me, and I was really big into it when I was young, and it kind of faded out for a few years, and then I got back into it when I was in college, and it, like I said, it's been a progression getting back into it, and I really enjoy it. I wish I could drive faster. I think the closest I've ever come in success in RC racing, we had a 1/6 scale championship race here from Moser Maori Racing. I don't know if you remember FG Model Sports, the 1/6 scale buggies, the 2-wheel drive. I had one of those and came in second place, and that was the best I've ever done. And try to go out on a high note with that because that'll probably be the best I'll ever do with RC as far as racing. But yeah, I love to see the look in kids' eyes when they first realize that they're an RC race. They have no idea of it. They come there with their parents and they're like, "Look, Dad!" And I don't know if you folks know Ethan Mechanic and Jason. I'm sure you do, Ethan. They are about 4 miles away from here. I remember when Jason used to bring Ethan in here. He wasn't even as tall as the counter. I had to look through him through the glass on the counter, and him and his brother, sister would come in here, just so cute. Had such a great time. It's just all about trying to build relationships and have a good time. So yeah, definitely get the kids away from the computers, the tablets, video games, cell phones. They have their purpose and time, but RC will be there for you. And,
So, G, you have this, you have this great story, right? And part of this podcast, aside from following great racing, talking about new products that come out, local tracks like Tom's, or doing RC media like Toby does, follow these great events, or being a team manager like Vin. You have this great story, right? That goes from picking up crack needles and making your own track with your buddies to going to a local track at Hobbytown and really getting inspired to somebody that goes out on a limb that buys a piece of property and buys inventory for one part of the hobby. And from what I heard is people were coming for dirt and you had on road, and then and then shifting and then going someplace else and, building your dream off-road track. And then, for me, that missing key in your life was, joining Roar was like a natural progression, right? As somebody who loved the hobby so much, you have the hobby store, you got the track, you've been a racer. The next thing, it was Roar. So as your position going from regional 2 director to vice president, what do you think your personal biggest impact has been at Roar? And what are you looking to do in the future?
Well, I'd say my impact was kind of short-lived, because when I would go to the races and in the RMT, being the vice president, people would come up and I would hear their complaints, and I would take them back and convey them to the executive committee and see how we can try to accommodate, build, and make things better for everybody. And that's the thing. It is a committee, and it is kind of difficult if everybody's not on board to make the change. I might have certain opinion that 2 or 3 others don't agree with, and if everybody's not present on a meeting, then we're kind of at a standstill. Right now, we have some positions open in the executive committee now that Ms. Tessman stepped down, and my suggestion, as soon as we have this next meeting, I'd like to actually try to get Ben involved. I've always wanted to get people like Ben involved, because I can't say enough good stuff about the guy. I mean, I don't want to sound like a fan or anything, but good people deserve recognition. I mean, I'm sure you all are awesome in your own right. I haven't had enough interaction with you all to say anything personally, but I'm sure just by what you're doing here, I think you all are awesome as well. So just got to keep doing what we're doing, and I definitely want to pursue that, because my one of my biggest gripes with the organization is that the history of it has kind of been geared toward on-road, whereas the majority of the funding is, in my opinion, if you look at the races, the nationals, the majority of the racers are running off-road. Fuel nets, 10 scale off-road, they're getting the highest counts. So they should get a little bit more consideration. And that's when I made the suggestion about trying to get more off-road representation in there. We got Leanne in there. We got Brennan there from Beach. Lance from down in Florida there. He has his own production company, which is eluding me right now. But good people, That's the idea for my national publication. I don't know if you guys can see this, or if the background thing is clicking in it. Probably not going to see it anyway. We did a publication for the event in 2022, and we're doing that this year too, where we'll put the drivers' pictures in there. And I'd like to offer you guys a free page in the publication too, to try to get some more people coming your direction and watching your podcast. So I'd like to offer you all, or whatever businesses you have, a free page in there.
That's awesome.
That's beyond.
Thank you.
Appreciate your kind words too, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Even EB mods, I don't mind if you guys want to do a compilation, however you want to do it. It's all about exposure for me. I've never done this to get rich. If I was going to do something to get rich, it definitely wouldn't be RC. No matter where I go with RC, they said the quickest. I hear people all the time say the quickest way to make $1 million in RC spend $4. And it seems to be true for me. And I'm sure some tracks do really well, but I just it's never been about the money for me. It's been about the fun, and I hope it continues.
So what is the because I basically just want to try to summarize for everybody else that's watching what your role as vice president of Roar entails, and do you have any other goals moving forward as vice president for the end of 24 into 25? And then the other guys, I'm sure, have plenty of questions, and their audio is probably better tonight than me.
Yeah, I do have. I'm sorry. My phone back in. My phone was overheating, and it's earlier because I have it on the charger. I do have a lot of plans. Like sometimes they're not fully thought through, but I definitely have visions for what I'd like to see happen in the organization. Um, this particular hiccup here recently has really thrown me off because after an incident at the last national, I I don't know how to say. I don't want to offend anybody or throw shade at anyone, but I don't feel respected sometimes. Um, in some capacities, I feel like I am just a place filler, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading things wrong, but definitely I I'm left out of some conversations, and it kind of bothers me because I feel that as an organization, we all need to make the decisions together and not supersede the actual process of coming together as a committee and deciding, making full decisions. And that's one thing. I keep track of all these emails. I try to save as many of the conversations we have with different people because sometimes we forget. You know, I'll say something, I'll have to go back to a conversation like, oh yeah, I did say this, and we will do this. This is how I'm going to work on this. But one thing with me is I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong and work towards a solution. Um, some other people just don't have that same view. You know, I'm right, you're wrong, and that's it. There's been a lot of changeover in the organization, and hopefully, like I say, I'm hoping that we can get Ben in there because Ben's a very level-headed guy, very cool, calm, collective, you know. And I mean, when somebody was intimidating his son at a race, you know, I've been guns out, type to go, ready to go, and this guy calmly just said, "Hey, this is not. That's enough. This is not happening." And he killed it. You know, he squashed it like it was nothing at all. And I was very proud to see somebody act accordingly. And yeah, we definitely need somebody like that because my frustration sometimes shows that at one point they were going to possibly publish a live meeting for the Roar Executive Committee, and I kind of guided them away from that because, as I mentioned, I don't like to use profane language in any type of media where it involves children. Um, but sometimes my frustration gets the best of me, and I'm not as level-headed as I should be because my passion exceeds, you know, my patience. So that's one thing. I just want to see more people get involved and everybody do the best that they can because I don't believe we all do our best, the best that we can in the committee. And like I say, it's tough. Um, I think we need to put more focus on, even though it's a national event, we need to put more focus toward the racers that are not pros. Like there are guys that come there, they're getting paid by a manufacturer to fly in or whatever. They got there because of their hard work. But I sometimes feel that some of our actions as an organization kind of deter people from pushing themselves to get towards that level of excellence in RC. And I've seen some guys, like I used to read RC Car Action, all the different publications, and see pictures of different pros before I actually got to meet them in person. See some of the smiles on their face in the magazines, then you see sometimes they're just very miserable when they're racing, when they're not, when things aren't going that way. And I'm like, man, it's got to be tough when you start off with the love in your heart for the RC racing and the programs, and then it becomes like a chore, a task, a job. Sometimes I think it loses a little bit for them, but I think they work through it. You know, there's ups and downs in everything in life, and you just got to try to work towards a positive. And that's what I'm going to stay doing with the organization until I feel that I cannot help it any further. Um, sometimes I think that I I go back to the statement of being a space filler. No matter what, I'm going to help people out. If there's somebody else that comes along that can do better, and I feel they're more apt to succeed in my position, I would gladly step aside and let them take the reins and do whatever. I am here until kind of get the ball rolling. That's my whole goal. You know, I don't, like I said, I don't have all of the answers, maybe not even half. But I'm willing to try to find a solution for whatever problem that we need to resolve within the organization and our, and I just want to see growth.
You're muted.
Sorry for rambling, guys. I mean,
George, you're muted, buddy.
You're rambling because you're passionate, buddy.
Sometimes it's
awesome
nice when you're
to
muted,
actually
but
listen to you.
now's not the time.
There we go. Thanks, Toby. I just figured my mic could be better. Obviously, not broadcasting. Garland, it's been to say the least, quite informative. All the information that you're telling everybody in regards to Roar. I'm going to give the other guys on the panel a chance to ask you some more questions. I really appreciate your time with me and the specific questions I had for you. I'm going to let the other guys chime in.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really have a lot of questions. I just want to reiterate. I mean, you've done so much for the hobby. You're passionate as hell about it. I think it's amazing. And I just want to offer you a lot of kudos. Is there anything I can do to help you out? Vin, you guys are going out there to help work on the track. What do you need? An extra pair of hands? Just give me a call. I'll find my way out there and help you guys out. I just, you've been doing it for a long time. I kind of think you, Ron, minus the curse words, Garland, of Ron Borman. He would be cursing like crazy. But there's another guy, right, that was extremely passionate about the hobby and would do a lot to help people. And, you just spend a lot of time talking about that, and just impressive all around. And look, anything I can do personally, anything Rhythm RC can do to help you guys out, we're here for you. Just let us know. And I'll message you directly. I got some questions on dirt, but I don't think we're going to bore everybody on the podcast about my dirt questions. But I'll have them.
All right, no problem at all. Anytime.
Ask their questions, at least one.
I'm just trying. I got questions on how to get it to bind well. I mean, there's a lot of ideas, but I don't want to. Is this the forum for it? I mean, George is saying go, so I'm going to go. Right? We got topsoil. It's native topsoil, pretty fine. Some stones in it. We're working those out as we go. But out of the corners and in the breaking spots, it's starting to break up, and it starts getting whooped up as the day goes. Then we go back out, we smooth it, try to get it going again. We've tried some white glue to try to get it to hold together a little bit. Maybe we're not using enough of it. Maybe we're not applying it right, but just trying to think of best ways to, it's important to me and important to Jim. We don't want it to become very expensive for people with tires, right? You got to be careful what you do that, you're not smoking a pair of tires every qualifier. That's not good for the club racing that we're trying to do. But any suggestions you have for me on that?
With different types of dirt, I always suggest try a few things. What is your watering system like? How do you water your track?
We've got water there, but we're never water with straight water. We've been watering the edges. We started out initially wetting the whole track to try to keep the dust down. Now we're working on watering the edges, and it's developing a hell of a groove in some spots. And this is only we're coming up on race number 4, so we still got a lot to learn. But it seems to be watering the edges seems to be better.
Okay. In preparation for your events, do you capture any water? Is it public water? Is it just like a garden hose, or do you have tanks?
We're not using tanks. No, we've got water there available. Okay. At high volume, high pressure. So we have plenty of water, but we're not able to add anything to the water. We do have access to a sprayer. I know some guys use laundry detergent and things like that. But we do have ways to add stuff to it. It's not necessarily a direct feed, because while we do have tanks, we're not using the tanks because we have so much water pressure as it is. We haven't really had to get into that. But not that we won't if there's a solution you suggest.
Well, when I first started out here, I started off with a 300-gallon tank. We're on a well. So I was collecting rainwater, and I found out quickly 300 gallons is not going to get you very far. I didn't want to burn up my well pump. So we ended up acquiring several 1,000. Well, we started off with 300 and 330 gallon totes, which you can pick up between $40 and $75 usually on Marketplace. Sometimes you can get them for free. Store that, get yourself a little water pump from Harbor Freight, and you can get a hose with a nozzle for about $100. And I don't know the dimensions of your track. Preparation is a big thing for traction. Plus, if you have really tiny rocks, sometimes it works to your benefit. You think it's an abrasive additive to your surface that will kind of take some of the edge off of the tire. And when the tire lays down, it's sticking to that, and rubber on rubber, you're getting it, But you want to try to get it to bond before people get out there and compress it. Do you have a roller, and do you run it in with a lawnmower, or?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, we do have a roller. We're pulling behind a decent sized tractor. The problem is the tractor tread, is a little bit more aggressive. Maybe some sort of regular mower might be better to try to run it in and get it compacted more. Maybe that's something that we're missing.
I can tell you one thing. I've seen a lot of tracks do it. Make friends with somebody in a landscaping business. Get them hooked into RC. Get them out. Let me borrow your roller for a little while this weekend. We'll drop it off to you. Compacting that dirt's going to make it bind. You'll get that water in there in the under layers of the surface, kind of get it held together, and then you'll just have to water it slightly. I actually use more fabric softener than I do laundry detergent. We do have, like I said, we have a bunch of hold tanks. It's multi-purpose. We started off for dust suppression, and found out that it also keeps bugs away. The laundry fabric softener pretty well. So if you ever need help, I don't mind coming. I think you're about 2.5, 3 hours away. I don't mind coming helping you anytime. I'd be glad to. And yeah, Ben, you can give him all of you can have my phone number, contact information, anything. I mean, I'd love to work with you, help you out with whatever you need. And if you have any suggestions or anything for Roar, my track, anything at all, I greatly appreciate it. Now, I don't know everything. I'm not one of those guys. Oh, I know better. I'll listen. I mean, I get people. What you ought to do? If I had $1 for every time I heard that here at the track, you ought to do this. And I'm like thinking sometimes, if I was a millionaire, maybe I could do that. But if I had a building over the track, definitely I know how to get the dirt to hold that. But when you're dealing with sunlight and wind, that's another factor that you really got to play around with your particular dirt and learn it. But yeah, like I said, Tom, I'm willing to help you out. Just let me know.
Hey,
I appreciate it very much.
Tom, is your concern like are people complaining like craters building up, or is it just more like from a maintenance standpoint?
Probably a little bit of both. Toby, really nobody's had any issues with it. It's funny. A lot of the guys say don't fix the bumps. They want the bumps there. They actually enjoy them because it was like you did fall brawl this year, right? You kind of had to go outside the groove a little bit. So a lot of guys actually really like when the track gets character, so to speak.
Yep.
I just don't want it to get too bad. So sometimes it's easier, if we could save ourselves some trouble maintaining it, coupled with a little bit better of a racing surface for people. I mean, I'm not looking to have carpet. I'm not looking to make it perfectly smooth, but I'm trying to ease the maintenance side of it and make it a little bit more consistent for the racers.
Gotcha.
One thing I was your target racer, are you trying to pull all of the more advanced racers? Do you have a local following where you can actually sustain your race program, mainly focusing on them, and then have some events where you're trying to pull the crowd from other venues? Or what's your focus?
No, it's definitely the latter of it, is what you just said there, G. Right? We've got a good amount of local guys that are coming out. A lot of the guys from family, right? It's almost like a reunion at times. But yeah, we're focused mainly on the local racers. Obviously want to get as many guys acclimated to the track as we can, but the main focus is local racers. We're not looking to compete with, LCRC or some of the trains big races, right? We're trying to keep that grassroots racing alive for a lot of the same reasons you talked about, right? I love seeing people out there like Vin and his kids. And I got a few guys that come out with their kids and race with them. To me, that's what's rewarding for it. This is not this isn't meant to be a money-making venture, right? This is meant to be a way of giving back and, just giving back to the hobby that I enjoy the hell out of and try to get more people involved in it. So, yeah, it is focused mostly on the grassroots club racing type of scene.
Okay. Yeah, if they're not complaining too much about the surface. One thing also, I mean, your location, do you have a bunch of neighbors that will complain about the dust and things like that?
Now we're in good shape there.
So, come up with a plan with them. Watering is going to be more of a hindrance for the racer that doesn't want to clean their car. Sometimes you can keep the moisture in there, have like a downtime between your rounds, and do a little bit of heavy watering on the outer skirt of the line, and then put like a light layer down on the line itself just to try to hold it together. Whenever you get heavy rains, do you have any puddling or anything going on?
We're kind of on a pretty good slope. There's a natural slope to the land, so it's kind of drained off pretty good. We tried to build it accordingly to try to get some rain. We don't have the same type of tilt that you have at your place, but it hasn't really puddled a ton of water, which is good. But then again, it hasn't rained here in a month either.
Well, we got all the rain here. If you need me to send some your way, but I was going to say if too much rain is causing a problem too, I put hydrated lime in the ground. That will help dry it up and kind of cure it, sort of like concrete. That's what I did for the National 2 years ago. Is we had a really bad period of rain when I was trying to develop the track. And some of the spots when you would just walk out there on the clay, it would be like a sponge, like you're walking on a gym. It would compress and then come back up really slowly. So I would take and turn that dirt and clay mixture up and put a little bit of hydrated lime and then roll it in, and that would set up like a brick. After the National, I didn't have to do anything to the track for about probably 2 months. I didn't have to water, do anything at all. That track was set, but I put a lot of sugar on it. I use Stay Wet. That's another thing you might want to look into. VP Racing, Stay Wet. I don't know how you would apply it in your situation. If you had somebody that had like a lawn or lawn fertilization spreader or something like that, or if you ended up getting some type of tanks. Generally, a 5-gallon bucket yields about 30,000 gallons, and that kind of helps the dirt kind of retain some of its moisture without being corrosive like calcium chloride.
Yeah, it's something that's important to us, right? We don't want people smoking tires. We don't want people, coming back with rusty cars and everything else. I mean, cool. That's good advice. I'll pick your brain more. I think I could talk to you for a few hours now about this, but let's give some other guys a chance here. I appreciate the insights, though, Jay, very much.
Yeah, those are some good tips for sure. Yeah, my turn. So I have a small little track, and I have a question. You mentioned before fabric softener will keep the bugs away. Any suggestions for like gnats and mosquitoes? Like the gnats are killer out there right now. Like I know it's not the track directly. Does anyone have any suggestions for me? I was out there before and they were just killing me.
You got to shower more often, then.
Besides that, yeah, maybe change my deodorant.
Bug light.
Is that your private track, Vin, or is it
Yeah. It's just a small track at my house. Any ideas?
Do you have any way to spread any type of solution out there? Suavitel and Pine Sol kind of push gnats away. They don't really like that at all. I found that here. I've been trying to find something for these boar bees. they just like to fly around and get in people's face. So I'm going to figure out something here in the next couple of weeks for them. Even if I got to build a flamethrower and go out on the track, do a live feed.
You know what you need for that, G? Just get a tennis racket. I tried everything. They were bored on my wood and my deck. I just keep a tennis racket. I think right now it's 7-0. I'm winning.
That's what I need. They're driving me nuts. But yeah.
We're about an hour and 40 minutes into the podcast. Toby, do you have anything specific that you want to talk about with you?
I want to give a shout out to G's parents. So every time we go there, like, they're so kind. They're so nice to the boys, and especially Robin, mom. Like, we were working out there, and she was just like feeding us and like looking out for the boys. You guys need to stay hydrated. You need anything, and like, man, you have just the most beautiful parents in the world. I appreciate them so much. Going there and seeing them, that's half of what's fun, is going and checking in and seeing, catching up on stories and hanging out with those guys. I miss you guys. That's all.
You're welcome anytime.
Right on. Yeah, we'll see you soon for sure.
Toby, you got anything for G?
Just a couple of things, G. I've not met you personally, but I've seen you a couple of times, especially when we were at the Fuel Nationals at LCRC. I just pulled up your schedule, actually. I wanted to share that on here so people know what's going on, and I don't know what I did. There it is. So, one thing that's pretty cool is I saw you posted this up really early in the season, which is something I find a source of frustration for a lot of tracks that don't really get their schedule out quick enough in the new year. But I'd like to see people who are listening to this podcast get out there and support you. And you said you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. What are you, like half an hour away from LCRC?
I guess it really depends on how fast you drive. I'm at exit 24 off of 81. So I think LCRC jumps off of 81 at, what is it, 61? Is it? So 47 miles to the freeway where you head out to LCRC.
322, is it?
322.
Yeah.
So I think it's another 40 miles from there. There is a back way you can go directly from LCRC. That the distance isn't too bad, but it's a bunch of windy, hilly roads. For me, anyway. My night blindness trying to drive there at night was terrible. But on the highway is the best bet for me as far as traffic and being able to speed up there and get there in time. But it's not too far from there. We're about maybe an hour and 10 minutes from pit stop. Adrenaline's about an hour and 10 minutes south of us. The track in Gaithersburg's about an hour and 15 minutes southwest of us. And let's see, we got the tilt yard even further. That's about 4 hours away. Trains and Lanes, I think, is about 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Right.
Rhythm, from what I looked at the other day on Google, I think that was 3 hours, a little bit over 3 hours. And
Okay.
Yeah, if any of you are interested in being like Roar affiliated tracks too and want to hold an event, you can actually sign up for Roar Racing and become an affiliated track and host events on your own. What I usually like to suggest that you put 15% of whatever you plan on taking in as race fees towards awards, and send me whatever flyer so I can help basically put it out there. I also have administrative rights to the Roar Facebook page, so I can share things from the regional Facebook page and the national Facebook page. I've done it before and they haven't had a problem with it so far, as long as it's just a mention. It's not anything nasty or anything, so negative or whatever. But I always I'm all about helping everybody do the best that they can in RC, and I just want to spread the love, and just don't be a stranger. If you need help, reach out to me. If you got a problem, I'll do the best I can to help you find it.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate it, G.
Thank you.
So, Jeep, typically at this point in the podcast, we would like to say thank you for your participation. We don't want you to go anywhere, but we're going to move on to Vinny's segment, which he's going to be covering, I believe, Droop for this setup segment for this month's podcast. So please hang out while Vin does the segment, and then we'll have some commentary after that.
Yep.
All right, Vin, you're up.
All right, cool. Just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe. If you can comment down below, that's always appreciated. Let us know what you want to hear. If you guys have any topics you want us to cover, just say so. So what we're going to cover today, droop or down travel, whatever you want to call it. It's essential to, I think it's pretty important. And first thing we'll cover is what is droop. So the difference between the ride height and the max the car can be lifted off the ground without the tires leaving the ground. So the tire's still on the ground, lifted up, that measurement above your ride height is going to be your droop. Okay. So we adjust the droop in 3 different ways. And shout out to Cam Cullen, by the way, for suggesting droop as a topic last time, and to Tom Petrella for talking about it a little bit and getting us going. So yeah, how do we adjust the droop? Well, there's 3 different ways. As I showed in the last episode, you can use a droop gauge, which I have right here, and you just put it on the top of your shock and just measure right down here. And the other way is to raise the car off the ground and actually use a ruler to measure how far off the ground it is before the tires leave the ground. And then the third way, which is really the right way to do it, is to use what's called droop blocks. And they're square blocks. They go underneath your car, and you measure the distance from the ground to the bottom of your hexes. And it's going to be different front and rear. And, that's the more exact way of actually checking your droop, and making sure that you're even left to right is absolutely essential. Front to rear can be different, but left and right have to be the same. So what's really important is that you guys measure whichever way you decide. You got to do it the same way every time. So be consistent in how you measure your droop, and play around with it. All right. So what we're going to talk about next is the differences between more droop and less droop. All right. So more droop. Okay. More droop is going to be easier to drive. It's going to be better on low grip conditions. And sometimes it's good in bumpy conditions. It really depends on what kind of bumps you're hitting, whether they're shallow, they're small little bumps, it all depends. And once again, this is something that you have to kind of play with your car and see what works best. But when you have more droop, the car is always going to jump and land better. And that's because with more droop, there's more down travel. The suspension is dropping further. So when you hit the ground coming off a big jump, you have more suspension to compress, more valving to go through. Jumping and landing, if that's off, you want to play with your droop. Tires have the ability to contour to the ground better when you have more droop. It's going to kind of go in and out of the little bumps, the ups and downs, and that's going to basically create a little bit more forward bite, because the tire is staying in contact with the ground a little bit more, even when the chassis might be lifting up and going up and down. The tires have the ability to stay on the ground and create grip. So more droop is going to allow the car to roll through the corners a little bit more. It's going to allow you, as we spoke about before, to transfer weight into all the corners, not just front and back, but left and right. It's going to roll more. It's going to go front to back more. So what this does, this motion, this extra travel of forward and back and left and right, that's going to delay weight transfer. Okay, because it's going through that rolling motion, or loading the front motion, there's time there. Okay, and that time is delay, and that's going to limit your speed. That's going to limit your corner speed. There's not going to be as much, initial grip, it's called. So there's going to be a little bit more overall grip, as we talked about before. All right, now we don't want to limit our corner speed, so what do? We start playing with less droop. All right. If we limit the droop, we're limiting how much weight transfer and that's going to add corner speed, especially in like your long sweeping corners. It's going to keep your car nice and flat, and it's going to allow you to get on throttle and not flip over so much. So you're going to be less prone to flipping. So just like carpet, when you take a little bit of droop out, it always helps with that. So if you're flipping over, definitely something to try. Less droop is always going to cater to like a smoother and a more high grip track. So even like G's, I would run a little bit less droop than, let's say, Trains and Lanes, because Trains and Lanes is bumpy, and G's is nice and smooth, and yeah. So in conclusion, okay, start testing with more droop. You want to start out with lots of droop, and then as you come up in pace, you get used to the track, you get used to the jumps. You're okay. You're landing on the downside now. Maybe you don't need as much suspension travel. And now you can start taking a little bit of droop out, whether it's your front or your rear. Like I said, left and right always have to be together, but front and rear are independent. So play around with it. If you need more of that on-power steering through the sweepers, you want to take a little bit of droop out of the rear. So the front, for the most part, we kind of set it and forget it. It stays within, like on an AE car, between 101 and 100, I would say, and 104. And then on the rear, we're somewhere between, and that's measured on the shock with this tool. You should really be using the blocks, but in the rear, we're somewhere between 124 and 126. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment below. And once again, please subscribe, like, share if you feel like it. Shoot me a message if you have any questions or you want some topics covered. I'm more than happy to do so.
Sweet. Another awesome segment, Vin. Great job.
Appreciate it.
Cool, man. We have some other race events that are coming up on the calendar that we wanted to talk about. So Toby Hampson's going to take this segment away and let you guys know what's happening in the race scene for the next week or two.
Absolutely. Hours and hours of preparation for this next segment.
I was messaging you.
Yeah, I'd have to actually read the message. So coming up this Saturday, looks like there's a race at G's, which you all should be at, supporting him. Looks like an award race. Also, there is Trains and Lanes Nitro Challenge race. Any class is running there, so you can bring your flashlights. But Nitro Buggy, being the premier class, is running. I believe Spec Tire, TKO Tire. I'm not sure which particular tread, but that should be a decently supported event. And then on Sunday is the race for Herman. You guys remember from the month or two back, we lost Herman Oldenburg from the region, a very well-known guy, and they're having a race for him in his honor. So you can make it a double header, head to G's, Trains, or Herman this weekend for those who don't necessarily have so much family ties. Obviously, Sunday's Father's Day. I used to race on Father's Day, but I'm a lazy now. So we got following week, LCRC 20th, their party rock race. It's 20th, Thursday through Sunday. Should be the way the weather's picking up, should be nice and toasty. So start gluing up your aqua tires. Sunday 23rd is also a barn race, club race at the barn. I think also RC Madness are having some kind of off-road race as well out there. 27th of June is my wife's birthday. Oh no, that's not important. I just put that in. Trains and Lanes Stars of Stripes, 6th of July, I believe we're getting into. So Trains and Lanes have their usual 2-day weekend event. So they have usually a Stars and Stripe event on the Saturday, and then if you race that event, you get to race free on Sunday, which is a club race. And I guess that's it. And then we roll into the middle of July. I'm not sure when we're recording next, but July 12th will be the 10th anniversary of the Big Apple race at the barn. So hopefully that will be well attended and a little more organized than 2023. That's all I got.
Big expectations.
And it?
He'll pull it off.
couldn't really be, a little bit more. Couldn't, suck any less. Let's say it. So
I do have to say that there's another race that you missed in this weekend's calendar. Tom said it earlier, but we can definitely repeat it. Rhythm's having an event on Saturday. I'll be there for sure. Anybody's looking for a hat for Rhythm Raceway, like Tom's, right? He looks all handsome in his hat. I'll be bringing a whole bunch of those down that my buddy Joe Holliday's been making for Tom. And
that's a picture of your old track.
So I'm stoked. It's going to be an awesome event. The weather's looking great. So there was a lot of great guys out there, like we had already talked about last time. The old gang's getting back together. So it's fun to, go and rub some elbows with guys that you haven't rubbed elbows with for a long time. So I'm super excited about it.
I got to get updated my pictures of your track, Tom. I've just got old pictures of dirt.
Anybody else going out on Saturday? Vin, you heading that direction by any chance?
You know what? This weekend we are just we have finals going on right now. I've Dylan's graduation tomorrow, finals, and it's hectic. So we're just like, and there's a lot of racing going on too. So we hate to miss it, but we're prepping for LCRC.
Nice.
That's going to be the next race.
Yeah, my daughter's graduating on Monday, so I feel like things are busy this week for sure. So we're excited.
But I'm getting down to Rhythm for a practice day soon. So Tom, let me know when you get those practice days going. I need to get down there, and of course we're itching to get out to G's as well. So,
well, hopefully G's gonna give Tom some magic, because hopefully in the fall, if things go right, we're looking to sponsor a race event at Rhythm by the Northeast RC Racer Podcast. So hopefully G can give Tom some magic secrets with the dirt, and by that time be ripping for some really awesome competition.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Gonna work on some nice plaques. Northeast RC Racer Podcast plaques. Those are gonna look real nice. We'll do a nice big one for game dates. Cool.
Awesome.
Sweet. G, thanks so much for being on the show. Everybody got to know you a lot better. You're not a guy who's short for words, and that's okay. You're passionate about the hobby. And without guys like you that are so passionate, the hobby wouldn't be where it is, right? You got your claws into the dirt. Nobody's kicking you out. And if they do, it's yelling and screaming. But what you bring to the table, for, like you said earlier, and I'm going to read something I believe I had quoted from you. Just give me a second here. 1 second. All right, that's 1 second too long. I couldn't find it. But basically, the summary was you create tracks, you create events, you promote events. You were looking to help people in the hobby as well as racers at the race event. So I think anybody that does that in totality is just super awesome for the hobby. So you gave us great compliments earlier in the show about what we were doing as a whole. This came up as an idea, had some other friends, we were able to put it all together. And it's not just memorializing great racer stories. It's about meeting other people that have major influence in the hobby. And without those people, we wouldn't have the pillars to keep the hobby going. We need the new lifeblood. Hopefully Vinny and his sons will have a lot of kids in the future so we can add to this RC population. I agree with you. You need the new lifeblood. We don't get enough of it. And pretty soon it's going to be anemic. And hopefully by what we're doing, and a lot of other people like Cam, somebody we had on last show, can definitely bring some added value. So for me and everybody else here, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jay.
Absolutely.
Well, with that being said, this is episode 18 of the Northeast RC Racer Podcast. I invite you guys all back for the next episode, number 19.
Hold up.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Rewind.
Oh, very. This
He
guy.
can edit this later.
Yeah. Again, I got to bring up our good friend. Huh?
I'm laughing at you making a comment at me.
Hey, there's so much to say. I got to bring up our good friend Ed Bridges out at EB Mods, coming forward to support this podcast. If you haven't checked them out already. ebmods.com. It's a long time veteran of nitro races, nitro racing, nitro engines, anything really to do with kind of engine engineering. He's your guy. ebmods.com sells engine parts, service. You can go there, get your sleeve pinched, get your dyno tuning. Lots of cool services you can get done. A lot of people, Vin relies on him to take care of all his engines,
Sure.
as do many do in the region. So Ed travels around. He's LCRC. He's trains and lanes, races in the region. You need help. You're lost in your tune. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Go see Ed. He'll super nice guy, and he'll help you out. So EB Mods, check him out.
B-Mod's main electric motor, I'd be buying it from Ed. Good stuff for sure. All right, can I conclude now?
Yeah, if he starts selling these, he's off the podcast.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up again. So I think we need a little nitro motor soundbite so that we can precede a segment with a little bit of nitro, like either Vin's segment or somebody else's. I know
We
a
do
good
it electric. Yeah, that's what you don't hear.
A little jingle.
A little jingle. I know a website you can steal that intro from. Anyway, another awesome episode. Ed, really, thanks again for coming on. We welcome you back anytime in the future. I hopefully will see you at Tom's. And if I don't see you there, I'm going to try to make a promise, and hopefully I can fulfill it. You will see me at ENATS this year, and I'm going to make the venture out. I'm solely an electric guy, so I feel compelled to, make it and see what I can do. So I will see you there in August. With that being said, couldn't do this without all the other guys on the show. I apologize if I had a little bit of a mic problem. Tom, I read the notes and I checked all the boxes except one that I couldn't for the audio. So hopefully my speaker's better. Not really sure why it happened this time. All the other episodes have been pretty cool. Nonetheless, can't do it without Toby. Thanks for putting the production together and getting all the releases on YouTube as well as Facebook, and doing the sponsorship mods as well. One of the other things I wanted to say was, if you have a track or you have an individual product or you have something else that's related to RC and you want to get exposure for it, please hit us up. You can message me, Toby, Tom, or Vin. We'd be happy to show you some type of schedule that we have for being a sponsor on the podcast. We're really trying to do our best for those sponsors such as EB Mods and try to give maximum exposure. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody again for coming up and seeing episode 18 with our boy Garland Smith III, right? Got it right? Sweet. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again on episode 19. This is George, Northeast RC Racer Podcast, and the crew. We'll catch you out next time.